Hello, my name is Melissa Steidemeyer, and I am the Grower Relations Manager for Agromura Nursery in Gridley, California. And today I will be talking about presenting information about super high density hedge prune production. As many of you know, the super high density concept emerged over 25 years ago with olives in Spain. Now, 2.5 decades later, virtually all the olives for oil now planted around the world are in high-density hedges, harvested over the row and grown in this high-efficiency model. Then, the same system was researched and introduced for almonds more than 10 years ago, again starting in Spain and spreading from there. And today, there are over 15,000 acres of almonds in the super high-density system, with thousands more acres being planted every year. With the success of these innovations, Agromura turned to other crops, including French prune, and a large trial was planted in 2014 in Chile in cooperation with an adventurous grower. Similar to California, Chilean prune growers have struggled with the cost of pruning, harvesting, and other hand labor, as well as the inefficient use of sunlight in the orchard and the lack of precision irrigation. Reality set in that something needed to change, and what was most needed was a paradigm shift to make the entire orchard more efficient and cost-effective, which would be the path to more sustainable profits. Today, I will be joined with Eli Charnilio, Technical Manager for Agromura Sur, our nursery in Chile, who has played a big part of the planting and development of the first super high-density prune orchard in that country. Eli will share with us some information about the fifth leaf trial orchard and report the results of the orchard's first harvest.
Hi Melissa, it's a pleasure to greet you. Here we are, yes, at the Schurter's family orchard. As you mentioned, it is the first French prune orchard planted on super high density. As you know, together with the United States, we are the main French prune producers around the world. That's why this innovation is so important to us.
It was planted on November 2014 as a 7.4 acres trial, with 757 trees per acre on a 11.5 times 5 feet spacing. This year, it will become the fourth harvest. Planted as a French prune over root pack 20, like a smart tree, or is a plant sprued on the 20 inches with few growths beyond that on 11 square inches container with a tight trunk liner that protect from the light to promote rootstock shoots. With no tutor and from the beginning 100% mechanized, making cuttings every 10-12 inches, always focusing on a two-dimensional wall with 24 inches maximum wide and 87 inches on high. The first harvest, it was 6,300 pounds per acre. The second one, it was 21,000 pounds per acre. The third one, it was 27,000 pounds per acre. And this year, it expected 20,000 pounds per acre. This decrease is mainly related for some climate conditions that occur around the area. What make a total of 54,000 pounds per acre, with an average of 18.5 Brix degrees on a fresh fruit, with the hydratation ratio of 2.8. When the fruit is dry, 85 Brix degrees. The yearly production cost is $2,700 per acre, what is $1,000 less than on a traditional orchard. The damage analysis on the dry fruit made by the packing house it's 2.8%, but on the traditional orchard it's 4.5%. It is very interesting that the Schurter's family have the chance to compare this trial with his traditional orchard, that as you can see here is just across. The traditional orchard is in good shape, well managed, planted on 200 trees per acre, where it's producing 28,000 pounds and the yearly production cost is $3,500 per acre. Because the minor canopy volume associated to this design on high density, the structural wood it is much less. It got better light interception, less shadow by the narrow wall, better accessibility for the different operations and product interception, and the fruit are closest to the nutritional channels. The super high density French prune model, it is also interesting because depending on your market requirement or options, it gives you the chance to make a double purpose orchard with hand picking for the ground with no letters for fresh fruit or mechanical picking for dry fruit.
Now I will leave you with Andrés Schurter, the owner of this project, who will tell you his experience doing this operation.
Gracias, Eli. Estamos acá en el huerto de alta densidad, pronto a la cuarta cosecha. Este huerto lo iniciamos pensando en todos los inconvenientes o problemas de cosecha del huerto tradicional, lo costoso, si bien mecánico, mucho más costoso que el huerto de alta densidad, y los problemas y costos de poda que significa para el huerto tradicional, que son podas de invierno. Este huerto lo hemos desarrollado solo con podas mecánicas, muy sencillas, cortes solo hechos en verano, y hemos obtenido bastante buenos resultados. Si, en la producción de seco obtenemos unos rendimientos muy similares al huerto tradicional, pero con costos productivos mucho más bajos. Y estos últimos años se nos ha dado la oportunidad de cosechar ciruela fresca, que nos ha dado un segundo propósito en el huerto, considerando que es un huerto con una dificultad mucho menor de cosecha porque es un huerto totalmente peatonal, versus una cosecha manual en un huerto tradicional que hay que hacer uso necesariamente de escalera, que lo hace ser más costoso, más difícil. Con el tiempo nos dimos cuenta que más que ser un sistema más productivo, es un huerto mucho más rentable que el huerto tradicional. Y eso nos está llevando este año a hacer una plantación nueva en este mismo modelo de 60 hectáreas. Gracias, Eli.
Thank you very much, Andrés, and especially for allowing us showing your orchard and this trial. Melissa, thanks to you. I hope it was helpful and useful information. And if you have any doubts, please contact us.
Thanks, Ellie. That orchard looks really impressive and very promising. With super high density plantings, there are really two important components that the orchard is built around. The first is the rootstock selection. The proper tree spacing for prunes in a super high density orchard ranges from 10 to 11.5 feet between rows and from 4 to 5 feet between trees, with a final hedge size of about 9 feet tall and about 3 to 3.5 feet wide. So you need a size controlling rootstock, which is still highly productive, while at the same time being disease and pest resistant. The rootstock that fits this criteria is Rootpack 20. Rootpack 20 was bred by the Agromura breeding program more than 20 years ago, specifically for super high density fruit systems. It is a plum by plum hybrid, which when compared to Mariana 2624, produces a tree about half the size if not hedged. Rootpack 20 is adapted well to heavy clay soils and waterlogging. It has moderately good tolerance to root knot nematodes and salinity, and very importantly, we have not observed any bacterial canker on prunes budded on Rootpack 20. Millions of stone fruit and almond trees are grown around the world on Rootpack 20, and it has proven to be a tough, adaptable rootstock for many situations. The second essential component in a super high density prune orchard is hedge management, starting in the first year. This involves creating a tall, upright, true hedge, which is formed by continually manipulating the young, growing hedge to create countless small branches, eliminating all large limbs, and making sure to fill the entire volume of the slender hedge with fruitwood. Once planted, forming the proper hedge really is quite simple. Multiple passes are made with mechanical pruners to lightly tip or hedge the growing shoots. A sickle bar double hedger implement attached to your narrow tractor works well for this purpose. With this simple and efficient tool, you can shape the top and sides of the developing hedge all in one pass. With prunes, as with some other crops in super high density, tipping cuts are made about every 12 inches of growth during the growing season, as many passes necessary as the tree grows. This straightforward, repetitive, and mechanized process creates the prolific fruitwood throughout the finished hedge you want. When complete at the end of the second or third year, the hedge will be about 9 feet tall and no more than 3 or 4 feet wide, depending on grower preference. The distance from the orchard floor to the first branches and fruitwood should be about 18 inches, allowing the over-the-row harvester to pass down the row while maximizing the yield potential of the hedge. If all goes to plan, you can expect full production by the 4th year or the following year at the latest. Now, I would like to join Cliff Umel, president of Agrimure, California, to get an inside look at some of the new super high density prune plantings right here in California. Cliff, thanks for joining me today. Can you tell us a little bit about these super high density prune plantings?
Hi, I'm Cliff. We're here today in Sutter County, and I want to talk to you a little bit about this planting of super high density prunes that we're standing in. So we're here in the middle of February 2021, and what you're looking at is prune trees that have been planted, are going into their 3rd leaf this year, and they're in a super high density planting. What we've discovered in 25 years at Agrimure around the world of developing many super high density systems for different crops, olives, almonds, now stone fruits such as prunes, is that the first system that we started with was about a central leader tree and lots of little branches off of it. After 10 years, research and continued development indicated to us that it was clear that the system could be even simpler than developing a central leader, that all we needed to do was to continually make the tree make small wood as the hedge developed, not let it get overly developed with large wood, and that would lead to a hedge that had lots of fruit wood, and that would be easy to harvest. That the mechanized harvesters, the over-the-row harvesters we'll talk about, will work without damaging the tree, with a high level of getting the fruit off of it. So if you look closely, what you'll see is this, from afar, these look quite a bit like a normal prune tree, like maybe you prune now, but there were in-season cuts last year right here. And some of them we still got to whip, but what we did get in season is we got small wood. And because this will never be wider than 4 feet, it will never be taller than 9 feet, that will be long-term fruiting wood. And we got some darts here. Yes, you're still gonna get some big wood, but always we're trying to, and that was a cut probably. And so in season, and instead of 1 big leader going up, we have 4, but we also got fruitwood development here. And so that's the key, is we're trying to develop something with small wood. The great thing is because you're using a sickle bar hedger, and for a reasonable cost, you can have a double-sided, horizontal, vertical at once hedge, sickle bar hedger that fits on a standard tractor. You can hedge 100 acres, tipping the trees 3 or 4 times in the first couple growing seasons. Minimal cost, minimal labor. And after that, after the hedge is fully formed by probably the year of end of year 3, you're only looking at hedging once a year. You top before harvest and you hedge the sides after harvest, and that's it. That's really as simple as this. So all the setup is in the first few years, and then it's a very simple system. So, and we'll continue to develop this with prunes. We expect to see a pretty good darn crop out here, and the reason we can say that is the spacing. If you think about that, somewhere between 750 to 1,000 trees an acre is what we're seeing here. So just based on that, if each tree puts on a crop this year in the third year, we're going to see a nice yield here as well. We're getting the advantages of sort of an almost long prune tree that will set early crop because of the way a prune grows, yet we've manipulated it to set up this small wood. So let's see how it goes. And it's important that we have both Denny and French in this system, because if we get the typical California spring and French doesn't have a great crop, I just noticed Denny over there and it's getting ready to bloom. So we'll hopefully have a variety in this that shows the cropping potential in year 3. And that's important because you can't get around the fact that the establishment cost is higher. The trees, while a little smaller and a little cheaper than the standard tree in some cases, still there's a lot of trees per acre. So this is a capital intensive system, like a lot of farming has become. More capital up front in order to spend less expenses later, less labor, earlier entry into production. So this isn't any similar than how the olive industry has evolved, the apple industry has evolved, the cherry industry has evolved, where it became clear that the economic story in these orchard crops were more cost up front, but better savings and more economic sustainability long term. So we're just kind of applying this model that's been applied to millions of acres across the world of many, many tree crops. So if you go to a modern apple orchard today, it looks a lot like this, different, but it looks a lot more like this than the You Pick apple orchard that you take your kids to. It's intensive, it's 2,500 trees an acre in some cases, but that's because that's the only economic system that will work to grow apples in the United States. So really, the story behind this, beyond all the details of the hedging equipment and all this, is that we're really applying the same economic models to prunes that have been being applied to orchard crops now for 40 years. And if you're a prune grower, you know the economic picture with prunes, and it's time these principles probably get applied to this crop. And so we're happy to be able to be a part of that evolution. So I'll just kind of end where as a natural point is harvest, right? That's the end that always is the sense of finality with the year. And these prune trees here will be harvested. I'm sure there will be a crop and will be harvested this third year. It's the same exact harvesters that are commercially available and already here in California that harvest every single acre of the tens of thousands of super high density olives that are already in California. So as far as the harvesting equipment, so on and so forth, we don't have to recreate the wheel. These harvesters are used to harvest the 15,000 and growing acres of almonds in Spain. So we know that it works with Prunes, this type of tree, and olives come off a tree pretty tough. So if you can get an olive, a half ripe olive off of a hedge, you can certainly get some prunes off of a tree. So it's all over the row, self-propelled and or PTO driven harvesters that can either, as you'll see in other parts of this presentation, either bank out into a gondola and or be self-contained and banked out into a buggy system, or into bins, into the good old fruit bin that we're all familiar with. So harvesting, we'll learn stuff from watching harvest, but it isn't an unknown and it isn't mysterious. And that's probably why the first grower who tried this system, which was in Chile, is planting another almost 200 acres this spring after his 5th or 6th leaf. He's a believer and he's investing. And this grower jumped out on a limb to do his first 50 acres after visiting that first orchard in Chile a few years ago. So it's seeing is believing is sort of has been what we have been experiencing as we've built out from small trials to bigger trials. So we're really excited to see what this is going to do in the third leaf and beyond, and we're going to watch it closely, and we're going to continue to record what goes on out here and share that information with you. And it's an exciting future for super high density prunes. Thanks.
Thanks, Cliff. I am really excited to see this orchard develop and to see the first crop on this third leaf orchard in 2021. You know, living in Northern California, every day I see so many prune orchards and often think that there is so much more potential for greater efficiency and higher yields, especially considering all the space and sunlight that is lost between trees and rows. The super high density planting system gives California prune growers the opportunity to maximize their orchard potential by utilizing extreme efficiency, minimizing labor impacts, and reaching for optimal production.